Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Why Not IAM community for the opportunity for me to be here this evening. Um, for years, identity has been treated as a control layer, something that we install, implement, and then we monitor and finally audit. But if you see at scale, identity is no longer just a control layer. It is now an operational infrastructure. And just like any other infrastructure, the way we operate determines whether it will become an asset to us or it will be a silent cost center. So, in today's session, I will be exploring a subtle shift, and this shift is not in tools and certainly not in compliance frameworks. It is, but in how we measure IAM maturity itself. So, IAM today is computationally active infrastructure. Let's think about a large enterprise, extreme large enterprise where you have thousands of users and there are millions of authentication event happening every moment in that enterprise. There would be continuous entitlement checks happening. There are multiple sync jobs running 24 cross 7. And then risk signals are being evaluated in real time. So in such kind of environment, each login triggers policy evaluation, it triggers session creation, it creates logging, it creates access validation. And each entitlement that is in system, so these entitlement gets synced. Each sync of these entitlements, they are querying directories, they're comparing deltas, they're writing logs, they're writing updates, and all these transactions are also getting logged somewhere. Now, if you try to multiply all these things by scale, you will realize that how enormous the operation of the entire IAM is, how much effort is being put in both by humans and by the machines. And by that example, I just wanted to set a vision in front of you, a visual in front of you, sorry, that IAM is not a passive system. It's a very, very active system. And yet, once IAM system gets deployed, they're rarely optimized with the same discipline the way cloud workloads are being optimized. And this is exactly where the hidden inefficiencies start to come. So let's see what are the invisible costs in an IAM system. So when IAM becomes always on, the real question shifts. And what is the real question shift here? Number one, is IAM really proportionate? That's the first question. Is it scaled to risk? And is it engineered for efficiency? And lastly, but not the least one, which is my favorite, is it aligned with business velocity? All of us know that IT is always there to support business, right? Whether it is cybersecurity or it is IAM or it is a business application, uh, PMO application, or any other application like ITSM application, all are there to support the business. So the most important question should always be that is it aligned to the business velocity? If you see around these days, most IAM systems or IAM platforms, all are technically sound. But there is one problem there. Problem is that operationally, all of them are overextended. And in big enterprises, rather, I will say in most of the enterprises, leaders are experiencing a common friction. And what that common friction is? Number one is the cloud costs are rising faster than expected. And the excess reviews are consuming enormous amount of efforts. That means whenever any kind of review is being done on the accesses, a lot of efforts is getting wasted. Again, I'm repeating, effort could be anywhere. Could be machine effort, could be human effort, but effort is getting wasted. And because of all these, IAM platforms are feeling a drag. They are feeling very heavy. And most of the times, the IAM teams are running identity processes that are designed not, that are running as per design and not as per the requirement or as per the need. And that is the basic problem that I see in all these IAM processes. I can, in fact, give you one example. Uh, I remember one organization where there were almost 70% quarterly access reviews running, and these 70% were resulting in zero meaningful change across cycle. Just imagine, out of the entire access reviews or access certifications, 70% are not resulting any meaningful change. So what is the point of doing a review then, if there's a meaningful change happening? If there's a risk being trapped, then why are you even doing a review? Simple, if I have to draw a parallel here, whenever earlier, I mean, when testing teams are doing testing, what is a good test or what is a good catch for them? That how many issues they can find in a tool, in an application. Likewise, if your certification are running without any meaningful change, then I believe these are redundant ones and they should be stopped. And what are we doing in what was being done in those reviews in the organization? They were scanning everything. They were scanning, reviewing, processing, everything was done on everything. And despite doing all these things, the risk posture was not even moving. It's barely moved. And this is what I term as a lot of volume without any precision. There is no precision at all, but a volume is very huge. Before I move to and explain to you what is green identity operation, let's just quickly see what green identity operation is not. It is not about weakening security. Typically, people think that if I do a green identity operation or if I try to make a good user experience, then my security is getting weakened. It's not like that. It's also not about compromising your compliance. We are not talking of compromising any compliance here. It's not about adding a new technology or adding some more complexities for its own sake. We are not talking of that. And finally, last but not the least, is not at all ESG reporting or what we call carbon reporting. Right? We are not talking of that itself. What we are talking about in green IT operation is operational maturity. That is what is being talked about here. And one thing I want to make very clear, that security and efficiency, they are not opposite things. They are go hand in hand. Whereas waste and securities are exactly opposite of each other. So this is a principal thing that one should keep in mind when talking of green identities. So what green identity actually means then? It means do only what is necessary. Run only those processes when risk justifies them. Don't just run a process because the design says so. I'm sorry. And scale efforts that are proportionate to the impact. So your effort should be proportional to the impact. And lastly, minimize waste across the entire identity cycle. So across the cycle, the efforts or the waste has to be minimized or reduced as much as possible. Now, all these things what I've mentioned here, none of them are radical transformations. And it's not even it's not a radical transformation, and it's actually what? It is actually a disciplined optimization. That's what it is all about. Now the question will be asking that what is a disciplined optimization? It is a discipline of asking why does this particular process exist in an IAM process, and why and who is benefiting from this control? If I'm putting a control, who is getting benefited from it? And what risk it is truly mitigating. If I am running a process, IAM process, or IAM cycle, a certification, access review, what is risk is being mitigated by this particular process? I mean, not a process, if you can say, an instance of a process. So if I'm running it on a particular access or a particular entitlement, a particular user, what is the risk is getting truly mitigated there? And what is the cost of running it continuously? If you see collectively, these all small shift will represent a move that will be moving away from control volume to control precision. So green identity in summary is really about discipline. It's not about ESG branding. It's about operational maturity. And most of what I'm describing today in my presentation is nothing is new there. But what is less common in all these things is treating identity operations as something to optimize continuously, but not reactively. So we have to optimize continuously and these identity operations, and not as a reaction. Typically what happens when an audit finding comes, when some issue comes, then people think of optimizing, looking into identity operation, optimizing it. Should not be like that. I have seen many organizations, they are starting an identity program or an IAM program because audit findings came. So that is not the start point. It has to be embedded in your security design. Okay, so let's see where actually waste is living. So it typically lives in two areas that you see on the screen right now. One is hygiene gap, and second is operational inefficiencies. In the terms of hygiene gaps, the first thing is dormant identities. And the second thing is over entitlement or excessive entitlements, excessive access, as we call them. And lastly, the orphaned access. That means access that is not properly approved by the process. And if I go to the operational inefficiencies, there are blanket reviews, right? Everything is getting reviewed. Low risk, high risk, medium risk. And I'm assuming what is low risk today, it will be low risk tomorrow also. It will be low risk 1 year after from today. And what is high risk today, it will remain high risk overall. That's what my assumption is, right? So there are blanket reviews. I think someone needs to go on mute. Samsung SM something, S911P. Okay. Static review cycles. So review cycles are static. They are extensive sync jobs. So a lot of sync jobs are there, which is excessive in nature. And if you see individually, all of these things that are you seeing on your screen right now, they are appearing as small. But at an enterprise scale, all these are compounding. They compound, right? I'll go to the next slide where I talk about small steps. Number one, there is identity hygiene. But even if I go there, let me be very clear that the steps that I'm going to share from now on, they are not any revolutionary steps. Most organizations, most IAM professionals are already aware of them. What's different then? The difference is that how consistently and how proportionately they are applied. There is a difference. Identity hygiene is not at all a maintenance activity. It is a discipline, a governance discipline that should be kept in mind. Generally, it is taken a maintenance job, right? We will have some support team working on this. It's not a maintenance job. It's a discipline that has to be maintained. And dormant accounts are expanding attack surfaces. The more dormant account you are having, the more exposed you are to an attack. And over entitlements, that means people who do not no more need the entitlements, they're still having it. These are there's increasing review load. So the load on the review is increasing because of these over entitlement. Then comes life cycle boundaries. So there are a lot of generally unclear life cycle boundaries, and these boundaries create drift. Like I told earlier, IAM load, heavy load on the team. So they're getting a drift there for the IAM processes. So what should we do? We should restructure the hygiene program such that it reduces the review scope by 20-30%. So if you restructure the program as per this step one that you see on the screen, it will reduce the review scope by 20-30%, which is significant. there is a lot of entitlement noise if you're having over excessive entitlements. And it can reduce that, it can lower that as well. And then we have uh, anomalies in detection clarity. It will improve that as well. So the anomalies will be much better. Again, I would like to take a small example uh, from one of my very yesterday's program. In an organization, typically, I mean, nowadays it's very common also. In fact, I should not even say in an organization. So if you see service and contractor accounts, typically we have third party people coming and working for an organization. So all these service and contractor accounts, they remain active, and they remain active long after their usage declines. People work, uh, contractor are working for a company, then they leave the account, their project is over, but no one bothered to remove their account or remove their access. Likewise, there are some service accounts that were used to run some job or some other purpose that is no more needed, but accounts are still lying there with the same level of accesses. And typically, out of the service accounts are more dangerous. And each of these that are lying unused, just imagine practically thinking, they will keep appearing in all access reviews because they are active, they are in system. All the scans that you are doing, they'll complete, they'll come in those scans. And the most dangerous part is they are expanding your attack surface. So attack surface getting extended. They're also consuming directory and sync operations. Typically, in any IAM system, you will have sync happening with the core HR system or the source of truth. So there's a lot of sync happening. It will keep on eating the spaces. It will doing the operations. It's not even required. And if a company or an enterprise or IAM team decides to do a quarterly reviews, again, what will happen? As I mentioned, the review scope will be reduced, sync traffic will be reduced, and we have better anomaly detection. And all these things I'm telling you, they're not glamorous things. It is an impactful thing. And I've really witnessed this, I've really tried this, they're really impactful. Fewer reviews, lower system load, and clear decisions. That is actually the foundation of precision. Let's go to step 2, which is risk-based reviews. Again, not a new terminology, but let's see what it is all about, why it is there. Traditional reviews that we are having are calendar-driven, right? What does it mean? That they are typically high applications or high risk accesses are done quarterly, then some other will be done half yearly, then yearly. But if you see risks, risk is not calendar-driven. It can come at any point of time. For example, privileged access in production does not deserve the same review model as a read-only access in low-risk system. So if you have a non-business critical system, you have a read-only access there, the amount of scrutiny you do there may not be required as someone having a privileged access in a very business critical system, let's say finance system. Now, what are forward-looking organizations or people with a futuristic approach? What they are doing? They review high impact access more frequently. And when I'm talking about reviewing high impact access more frequently, I'm not talking about that we know today an access is high risk access, application is critical, I'll keep on doing high impact. Likewise for low also, I'll do low. What it really means is that are we really looking into identity telemetry? Because that are dynamic things, risks are dynamic. What is today high risk may not be tomorrow high risk. So we have to have a process, a design, which is adaptive. I'll come to that later on. Then reducing scope for low risk populations. Use risk signals. This one is very important. So we have to see what are the risk signals coming through different telemetry, identity telemetry, access telemetry, and we have to see how to prioritize our review focus. What should be reviews? Who should be reviewed? Which access should be reviewed? Which system should be reviewed? And please remove all these blanket certification cycles. They are useless. And they are not doing anything. They are like a clerical job. You have to remove these things. And all these things will do what? Number one, they remove fatigue, both system and human. Decision quality will improve. Imagine a user sitting there only to, or a human sitting there only to approve high risk business critical accesses. Less reviews he is having or she is having, less fatigue and better decision making. And uh, they start aligning efforts with the risk. Now, if you see, a risk is contextual, risk is dynamic, and risk is behavioral also. Then why do we have review static? Review should also be contextual, dynamic, and behavioral, isn't it? That is what we are talking about in green identity. We cannot continue to review access as if risk is static. Risk is never static, it's dynamic. So adaptive review models are not efficiency tools. They are the early indicator of intelligent IAM architecture. I'll repeat again, adaptive review models are not efficiency tools. They are the indicators of intelligent or the early indicator of intelligent IAM systems or IAM architecture. Let's see what step 3 talks about. So it is intelligent operations. And when I'm saying intelligent operation or intelligent automation, I'm sorry, I don't just mean blindly approving everything. That's not what I am saying. What I am saying is use behavior signals, like I was telling on slide 2 or step 2. Use behavior signals, leveraging historical decision patterns, that what was a pattern earlier, and importantly, applying identity telemetry. If you apply all these things and also introduce machine assisted risk scoring where appropriate, you can do a risk scoring also, automated scoring, but depending upon different telemetry items or different parameters. So all these things, if you put responsibly, they will allow us to reduce noise while increasing precision. I'm again repeating, noise has to be reduced, precision has to be increased. That is what we're trying to do here. What is noise? Doing a lot of reviews, which is not necessary. Low risk accesses are being done, certificate cycles are being done. It's not required. And this is what I call it intelligent automation, right? So we are not replacing judgment. We are augmenting the judgment. If in a given system, in a given IAM system, let's say 95% of certain approvals are consistent across the cycles, then that pattern becomes something that can be automated. And the goal is not to remove humans. The goal is to remove human effort where risk is low. So we are not saying remove humans or reduce humans there. What we are saying is repeat that repetitive human effort where the risk variance is very, very low. What's the point of having that repetitive effort? Just automate it. And automation increases precision by reducing noise, right? Let's go to step 4 now, which is lean governance and control, precision. So now that is where the maturity becomes visible. And high maturity IAM programs are not defined by number of controls, right? How many controls you're having in mind. Someone says, I have 200 controls executing in my IAM program. That is not defining your IAM maturity of IAM program. What is being, how the maturity is defined? It is defined by proportionality and not by value. That what is the proportion of your controls as compared to your risk or to your business requirements? That is what maturity is. And they're defined by control precision, as I said already. And what does the precision means? Precision means giving right control at right time to the right population at the right intensity. That is very important. Am I repeating? Precision means right control to the right population at the right time with the right intensity. That is what precision is. Moving away from periodic reviews to event-driven triggers, as I was saying earlier. Your review should be event-driven. I'm not saying your reviews remove periodic reviews completely or you do not use them. What I am saying is they have to be event-driven as well. Then refining thresholds using telemetry. So we have access telemetry, identity telemetry. Use these things to refine your thresholds. That what would be the point? What do you define high risk? What do you define low risk? What is medium risk? What is extremely super excessive high risk? Something like that, right? So what we are saying is we are not saying fewer controls. We are saying proportionate controls as per the risks, evolving risk, as per the adapting to the evolving risk. And please remember that control precision is much, much more powerful than control expansion. While I'm not saying we should not do control expansion, which may be required as per the business requirement. But what is more important, more powerful is the precision. And how to improve the precision? When we use telemetry data, identity telemetry data to refine thresholds instead of relying purely on the static policy. So these were the 4 steps that we talk about in terms of having green identity operation. Let us see what is the compounding effect of these all these steps I have told you. In each of these steps, individually may reduce, let's say 5% friction, 6% friction, but together, which is very less friction. People say, okay, 5% friction is nothing, like it's very less. But if you compound them, operationally, they mean what? Lower system load, faster decision cycles. And financially, they are reducing overhead of cloud computing. And they're also lowering manual efforters. So people doing manual jobs for low risk items is getting reduced or eliminated. And less audit friction. The more automation you're doing on redundant tasks or repetitive tasks, audit friction will be less. Then you get better audit results. You can handle the audits much, much better. And in terms of risk, again, higher control precision, stronger privileged oversight, and cleaner governance signals. All these things will be there if you see the compounding effect of all these steps that I have discussed. So what we are saying is small improvements, if they are applied consistently, I'm again repeating, small improvements, consistent application, they reshape the maturity of the IAM process, IAM system, IAM design, you can say. And with this, I remember a very old saying that I've read somewhere. It says that men stumble on pebbles, never on mountains, which is the right thing. So small steps, cracks, if they are not filled properly, then you will always fall. The system will always fail. There will be problems there. So small improvements, big results to be done consistently, not only once or not being static. Let's see what is happening when we move from static IAM to adaptive identity operations. Adaptive, I explained earlier what I mean adaptive identity operation. So traditional IAM, their systems, they react. And what does identity, which is adaptive, what does it do? It anticipates, right? Static IAM assumes access is granted once, trust will persist throughout the life, no problem at all. But we know that is not true. Access granted today may not be the true tomorrow. Situation may change. So we have to continuously calibrate a trust. Through what? Through adaptive systems. Adaptive IAM assumes what? That trust must be continuously calibrated. We have to always measure that trust is still the same or not. And we are moving away from periodic assurances to continuous calibration. And all these things I am telling you are not a tooling shift. It is actually an operating philosophy shift. From operating IAM because policy requires it, we are moving to operating IAM because business resilience demands it. Let me repeat it. I am moving from operating IAM because policy requires it to IAM because business resilience demands it. That is why what is called as operating policy shift. And this is philosophical. And with that, I come to the end of my session today. And what I want to mention that green identity operation is not about doing less. It is about operating identity with precision, intent, and accountability. And in today's world that is cloud first, AI accelerated, operational discipline in identity will increasingly define digital maturity. Thank you all for being there.